We all know that Bitcoin doesn't care. And as I've said many times, Bitcoin doesn't need politicians. Politicians need Bitcoin. That said, if given the choice between having a government that is vocally pro-Bitcoin or vocally anti-Bitcoin, I will obviously pick the former. It's easier to swim with the current than against it. Bitcoin will succeed and is succeeding, regardless of the actions of any one administration or country, because Bitcoin is global, borderless, and unstoppable. But selfishly or patriotically, as an American, I want my country to be pro-Bitcoin. Because we're America, goddammit, and we fucking should be. That said, I am also not holding my breath and assuming that candidates that make campaign promises that I like will honor those campaign promises once they get elected. This would be fucking stupid. I am, however, hopeful about the future of Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, and the potential for Bitcoin companies in general to thrive in America if the state is not actively fighting against them, trying to make their lives more difficult. But let's be honest about why politicians are now starting to fall over themselves to show that they are pro-Bitcoin. It's not because Bitcoin is really neat freedom tech. It's because Bitcoin and Bitcoiners are growing more powerful and influential every single day, and will be the most powerful economic and cultural force in the world in the decades to come. Bitcoiners who save the value of their time and energy in the hardest money humanity has ever discovered are increasing their purchasing power drastically relative to the rest of the populace. Bitcoiners, toxic maxis specifically, as we all know, are incredibly ferocious when it comes to attacks on Bitcoin. Any new piece of FUD that has ever been trotted out by anti-Bitcoin propagandists is immediately dismantled by a horde of angry cyber hornets who love nothing more than to meme idiocy into oblivion. I think it is important to remind you, my fellow Bitcoiners, that we are in the power position now. Politicians are coming to us to try and win our votes and to try and get our donations, naturally. This didn't happen out of nowhere, though. It's thanks to the hard work of countless Bitcoiners who wouldn't fucking shut up about Bitcoin over the last 15 years. We are at a turning point both nationally in America and globally. And because Bitcoin is supranational, it exists independent of any one nation state, and Bitcoiners are a global force to be reckoned with, we have an incredible amount of power and leverage. We are no longer in the position where we need to feel the need to grovel and beg to try and get politicians to pay attention to us so they don't govern us into oblivion. They are paying attention. Everyone is paying attention. All eyes are on Nashville for this conference. Will Trump's speech be a stream of fairly empty platitudes that get cheers from the crowd but fail to deliver anything of real substance? Perhaps. Or perhaps it will be something truly groundbreaking, like a pledge to develop a strategic Bitcoin reserve, as has been floated by a number of people on social media. And let's not forget RFK Jr. Again, he has been pro-Bitcoin longer than Trump. He's also an independent and has garnered a massive amount of support, even as an independent candidate outside of the red-blue duopoly, even while being vilified by both folks on the right and on the left. The fact that both the independent candidate for president and the Republican candidate for president are now vocally pro-Bitcoin is crucial because it forces the hand of the Democratic Party. They have two options: maintain their current course, which means continuing to be generally anti-Bitcoin, or change course to try and lean into a pro-Bitcoin, pro-freedom agenda, taking away that piece as a bargaining chip and a cudgel to be used by Republicans and independents against them. Obviously, the Democratic Party becoming vocally pro-Bitcoin is by far the smartest thing they could do, because it takes that power away from Donald Trump or RFK to be able to say, I'm different because I support Bitcoin. If we do reach this fascinating point in history where somehow presidential candidates for all political parties in the US are pro-Bitcoin, what does that mean going forward? Well, it means we are even more powerful than before. This is something Michael Saylor predicted at the Bitcoin conference in Miami last year. I was privileged enough to be on the panel for the news desk with Saylor, Guy Swan, and Pete Rizzo. Saylor said that in the next election, politicians would be competing to see who is more pro-Bitcoin, and that's exactly what we have right now. Of course, with the notable exception of the Democratic candidate. Now, at the moment, that candidate appears to be Kamala Harris, but in my opinion, there is no way she ends up being the final Democratic nominee. So it'll be very interesting to see if anyone from the Democratic Party ends up making an appearance at the Bitcoin conference, whether it's Kamala or whoever ends up vying for the nomination ahead of the DNC next week. Again, it would be stupid of them not to, but let's not put it past them. My fellow Bitcoiners, this is an incredible moment. This is a turning point. We are not in defense mode. Again, we are in the power position. But we should continue to be wary, to be doubtful, to question everything, especially when what we are told sounds just a little too good to be true. That doesn't mean we can't get excited and hopeful about the possibilities, but we should also not assume candidates will honor their campaign promises. To do so would be to ignore both reality and history. So, my fellow Bitcoiners, I will leave you with this. The world is changing fast, and things are going to get really fucking crazy, but we'll be okay because we have Bitcoin. We're winning. And we're building a parallel system outside of the broken fiat one. Take care of your family, take care of yourself, and take care of your future. Put another way, focus on what can be, unburdened by what has been.